Being comfortable will kill you in whatever industry you're in. And if you are somebody who strives to be great, comfort is the only enemy. If you don't know who I am, my name is Carter Positano. I'm a 22-year-old entrepreneur who has grown and scaled multiple businesses to six figures plus in less than 3 years. My goal here on YouTube is to help be the mentor, not only that I needed when I was 18, but the mentor that I needed last year, last month, last week, and yesterday. I want to help people learn from my mistakes instead of having to make them on their own. And what I want to talk about today is the hidden killer behind comfort and why comfort will be the death of whatever you want. And this is not to say that you can't be safe. You can't feel safe in your life. You know what I mean? Like, you can't have a cushion of money to feel regulated. You can't have a relationship with your family or a relationship with a girl or friendships that keep you happy. What I'm saying is comfort will be your downfall if you are not careful with how comfortable you get. I always like to talk about my personal experiences in these videos. And I think one of the best things I could start out by talking is that when I was 18, I took every single dollar I saved up from working my construction job to get myself an apartment. And I moved out, moved completely away from where I grew up and my family. And I got myself this apartment that I really couldn't afford. And the reason I did that, and everybody called me absolutely crazy at the time, because my monthly with my car insurance, my payments, my gym, my groceries, my food, like my minimum on rent alone was $2,500. With everything involved, not even like living, was $3,500 per month. And as an 18-year-old, like that's crazy. As like at this age now, like being solidified in my business, I don't see that as a crazy amount. But at that age, like that was more money than I'd ever seen in my life. Like I didn't even make that in a month at that point, and that was my new monthly must pay. That was my baseline for what I had to make just to survive and not get evicted. And the reason I did that is because I have taught myself to be somebody who strives under pressure, and I gave myself the pressure because I wanted to succeed. And I knew that if I didn't give myself the pressure at that age, that I wouldn't have done the things because I was too comfortable where I was. My environment made me comfortable with fucking around, drinking, doing bullshit every day. And I didn't want that anymore because I knew if I stayed there, I would stay stagnant. I was comfortable. I had everyone around me. I could get any girl I wanted in my hometown. I could get anything I wanted. I had stupid money just to play around with and get drinks at the bar and whatever. But I was going to fail if I stayed in that environment because I was comfortable, which means I wouldn't move. And the same thing happened once again when I hit the age of 20. I'd been doing everything I wanted for almost 2 years at that point. But right before I was 21, like 6 months before I turned 21, I made the decision that I was going to move because I was comfortable. And I didn't realize how comfortable I was. I knew I had to make a step. I knew I had to grow out of that place that I was in, but I didn't realize how comfortable I was in until I actually went to go move out of my first apartment and put all my stuff in a storage unit and fly literally to the complete opposite end of the world. The longest flight you can take, which is New York to Singapore, it's like 18 hours, the longest direct you can take. I went completely across the world for 6 months and traveled a bunch of Asia for 6 months straight. And my goal when I came back was to open up a new store and start a new business and all this stuff and whatever. It's not the point. The point is I was shitting my pants ready to leave that first apartment. And it was crazy because all I wanted was to move on and get to the next phase and get to the next phase. But the second I actually was called to do it, which all I'd been doing is moving at that point, I was like, wow, I've gotten so comfortable in this spot, I'm actually scared to do this. And that's when I realized how badly I needed to move on to the next thing. Because I was so comfortable, I was ready to stay stagnant. I'd fallen into this routine of doing the same things, these arbitrary days. Even though I was working really hard and I was still growing and all these things, I wasn't moving. And when you stop moving, it usually means you're really comfortable in the position you're in. And now, this doesn't even necessarily need to be your full life. I'm not telling you to pick up and move, right? What I'm saying is, like, we very often get ourselves in relationships. A girl, for instance, right? Where we get really lovey-dovey and all we want to do is sit at home and watch movies, and we're really good with making the same amount of money and doing the same thing every Friday and the same thing every Saturday and eating this and doing this and doing this. We fall into routine. And this is how we not only fail to succeed in what we dreamt of and what we want, but it's also how we grow to resent our partners and ourselves. And this happens everywhere. It's not just with relationships, it's with friendships as well. Because I think of how many people I would have grown to completely hate had I not pulled myself out of the environment, because all they do are bad influence on you. They tell you do this, and let's go get a drink, let's go hang out with these girls, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this. And like, I knew that's not what I wanted, and I was just wasting time over and over again. And at the time, before I moved out, I really started to hate these people. And now, I still love them. A lot of those guys that I grew up with are family. And there's still people that every once in a blue moon I'll go and see, I'll go and hang out with, but we weren't on the same path. And that's the thing is we start to present these people if we stay too comfortable in the situations we're in, because we will eventually blame them for our own misfortune. And that's what happens in relationships too, is when you don't get things done, you start to blame your partner because they're the ones taking the time away. But in reality, you're the one that got comfortable. And that's not to say we can't be comfortable, we can't be safe, as I said at the start of the video, but it's something to say that we do get very comfortable in our situations, whether that we start to make a certain amount of money or we start to fall into a routine, this monotonous routine where we're just happy enough that we don't want to push farther. And this is the trap at the end of the day of why we stay stagnant. I think one of the biggest problems is comfort never feels like a problem. If someone offered you two options, something uncomfortable and something comfortable, your brain is always going to pick comfort. And that's not because you're lazy, it's because your brain is designed to conserve energy and avoid unnecessary risk. Comfort isn't a character flaw, it's a survival mechanism. And the challenge is that the same instinct that kept our ancestors alive can keep us from growing in a world where progress requires deliberate discomfort. We don't want to take risk, but the growth is on the other side of that risk. It's on the other side of the discomfort. And the thing is comfort compounds. This is where it becomes business. Nobody wants to wake up one day completely out of shape. Nobody wants to wake up broke, and nobody wants to wake up with a failed business. But it happens through thousands of tiny, comfortable decisions. Every comfortable decision says, I'll do it tomorrow, and then tomorrow becomes next week, and next week becomes next year. This is how these things happen, and I'm guilty of the same things. Discipline is what is going to carry you over, but nobody wants to jump into an uncomfortable situation. The only thing that can trigger me to be like, no, I have to do this is because I'm like, wow, I'm really anxious to do this. Like, that's a sign to me like I'm doing the right thing because I'm nervous on the next step, right? I'm nervous to take that risk. It's like buying a new piece of equipment. I'm like, oh my God, like, should I buy this? I don't know. Like, should I expand? Should I do this? Right? And that's the whole thing is like, I didn't move into a warehouse for one of my business, my vintage clothing business for a long time. I was just running into my apartment. And I make like 4 times the money with it on a monthly basis now compared to what I was making out of my apartment. And the only difference was, yeah, like I have a lease on the warehouse now, you know? But the thing is it's not like it was that much more work. It's not like it's that much more work today. It's just that I was able to scale it, but I didn't want to take the risk of having to pay another $1,000 a month at the time for the lease, right? Like that was the first place I moved into. I didn't want to pay another $1,000 on top because like, that's a risk, right? So you stick with the comfortable decision, but it prevents you from growing. And the same thing with like construction. I'm always scared. I remember starting out, like I think my first year I would have been 19, and I was so terrified to like go and buy a new piece of equipment. But the thing is the piece of equipment allowed me to do jobs better. It allowed me to do more jobs and allowed me to do jobs faster, right? So why would that be a negative? It's just that you don't want to spend the money because you are uncomfortable with the idea that you might have more work or you might not have more work. You know what I mean? But it's that comfort. Okay, this is working right now. Let's not change it. That prevents you from growing. And the thing is comfort is a trap. And this is one of my favorite ideas because the better your life gets, the easier it is to stop growing. A decent salary, a decent apartment, a decent relationship, a decent business. Nothing is bad enough to face change, right? It's not bad enough to force you to do something different. You're comfortable enough to stay exactly where you are. And that's why good enough can become a ceiling rather than a destination. And that's not to say we all have to be great. It's just saying that we should be striving for things. We as humans are goal achievers. And if we don't go and strive for new things, we are going to be unhappy. We need to set ourselves new goals. It doesn't matter if it's arbitrary. It doesn't matter really what it is at the end of the day. We just need to constantly bettering ourselves and improving. And the more comfortable you are, the less likely you are to do this, right? And that leads us into the reframing of discomfort. Instead of asking, how do I become more comfortable? Ask what discomfort is worth choosing because of where it can lead to. And this is the discomfort of learning, building, investing, selling, exercising, failing, healing. No, these are investments. They're not punishments. And that's the thing is learning guitar is not easy. It takes time. But the enjoyment you get out of it after you learn how to play is unmeasurable. And it's the same thing with getting fit, right? Is the reason why we have obesity is because it's difficult to go. Well, I don't think it's that difficult, actually. I won't lie. But I think most people overcomplicate it, right? And they don't want the discomfort of trying something new and learning new skills. So they don't go to the gym. They don't want to learn the actual processes in and out of doing this. So you hire trainers, you hire people that are going to show you how to do it, and then they teach you the hardest way to do it because they don't want you to do it without them. And you have this situation where, okay, it's uncomfortable to work out, so I will not work out. And this loop you get into just constantly will kill you because that discomfort on the other side of it is you living longer, healthier, better, more efficiently. Every single aspect of your life gets better when you're healthier. And I think that goes for most of the things on the other end of discomfort, right? Because the thing is like, if you want to learn guitar, maybe guitar is not going to improve your life that much unless you love music. I love music. Learning guitar makes me happy, you know? But the thing is being able to have an accomplishment in the back of your head allows you to do better things because you know you can do it. You know, like the sense of accomplishment you get from just having these little wins and learning these new skills is going to push you in every aspect. And Cybernetics is a really good book. If you guys have never heard of it, and it's all about the reframing of the mind. And it's one of the ones I just reread again recently, actually. I read it a few years ago, but I think it really fits into this if you guys are looking for something to read because it's all about that. And the idea that reframing your head into somebody that wins and being able to replay these accomplishments in your head will allow you to feel better and be better. And once again, we don't need to be great. But humans are meant to win. We're meant to set goals and achieve goals. And unless we are improving, we're only getting worse. And the quality of our life is very dependent on the fact that we constantly have to be doing better. And that's not to say there's no end. It's just arbitrary goals. As I said, like running a marathon, you're not really getting anything out of pushing yourself to run a marathon, but the sense of accomplishment and personal growth that you get out of that, and the pushing of yourself to do that is really good for us as people. And I cannot stress that enough. And everything good is going to be on the other end of discomfort. And the thing is comfort isn't expensive because what it costs you today. It's expensive because of everything you'll become if you choose it every day. Your future is not determined by one huge decision. It's determined by the small comforts you stop choosing to get to tomorrow. Once again, my name is Carter Positano, and my goal here on YouTube is to be the mentor that I once needed and help you to learn from the mistakes that I made on my entrepreneur journey so you don't have to. And if you enjoyed the video, I would love if you would leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, let me know what you guys need to hear from. Thank you, and I will see you in the next video.